Today we're going to take a look at this webcam right here. This is the EMEET SmartCam S800, and it's a pretty cool little webcam, but this thing has a couple of secrets. It does 2 or maybe even 3 things better than a lot of the other webcams that I've ever tested. And I've been a live streamer on Twitch for over 7 years now. I've been doing this full time. I make content here on YouTube. So I've tested out a lot of different webcams and a lot of different camera systems. This camera impresses me in a few different areas. So I wanted to share that with you. It also comes in at a great price point. So today we're going to do a full review of the EMEET S800. Now, before we dive in and take a look at what comes in the box and look at the camera itself, I want to say a special thank you to EMEET for sponsoring this video and sending this camera over for review. Now, I want to dive in and unbox this and show you some of the physical qualities of this camera because it's got a very unique design. Okay, so here is the EMEET SmartCam S800. And I want to go ahead and just show you guys what comes in the box when you get this webcam. We're going to go ahead and open it up here. And pretty simple and straightforward. Packaged really well, nothing too crazy. But you're going to get, of course, the webcam itself right in here, which is actually, it's a pretty large webcam. Like not too big, but you definitely feel like you're getting a little bit more of a substantial camera versus some of the tiny ones. Not that the tiny ones can't be good, but you know, it just has a nice look to it. It's a little bit unique, the way that it looks. We'll look at that here in just a minute more. You got another box here, and this just comes with, of course, your USB cable and the instruction booklet. So that's literally everything that's in the box. Very, very simple, very clean. Put those to the side. Let's go ahead and take a look at the camera itself, just the physical qualities. It's got this nice big caution hot sign on the top here, and I'm assuming that's because this thing is going to get a little bit warm as you use it. But then, of course, the EMEET logo over here on the side. And the stand itself is pretty standard. Just kind of a monitor stand. It just sits on your monitor like this and holds on like that. And then you can, of course, you can adjust the camera this way, or it's got a unique feature because this little tab in here allows you to tilt the camera forward. So you can actually tilt it forward and look down at your desk a little bit. I think this is about as far as it goes. So if you're like this, you can go right up to there. Pretty cool, pretty standard. It does have a little tripod attachment on the bottom here, so you could use a threaded adapter, put this on a tripod or some type of, you know, stand of some sort. But one of the other cool things about this camera that I think they've implemented pretty well is on the top ring here. You'll see this ring that goes all the way around. That is a lens cover, and as you rotate it, it opens and closes the iris. So if you want a privacy screen, boom, there you go. And we'll test that out here in a minute. We'll close it while the camera's on and see if you can see anything at all, if there's any light that comes in or whatnot. But it's going to block out, I'm assuming, you know, all of the image there, which is really cool. That's kind of nice to have if you just want to, you know, close it up and not worry about your camera coming on somehow. So there's that, and pretty straightforward, pretty simple. We're going to go ahead and plug this in, do some tests on it, and then we're going to talk about the quality. I did want to mention that this is an f1.8 aperture lens, and it has 4K at 30 frames a second, or it's got 1080p at 60 frames a second. It also has a 4x zoom, but that zoom, I believe, is digital. It has a 40 degree to 73 degree field of view, so not the widest camera ever. It's pretty standard, but it'll get the job done. It also has a it's basically got dual autofocus. So it's got phase detect autofocus, and we're gonna look at that here in a minute because the autofocus on this camera is pretty nuts, and we're gonna talk about that a little bit more. But it's got phase detect autofocus, and then what they call I had to check on it really quick, what they call their time of flight dual autofocus, which they say offers significant advantages over single autofocus, so it's much faster speeds, and the autofocus on this is pretty crazy. So we're gonna look at that and talk about it. But there it is, the EMEET 4K UHD, kind of a little physical look here. Very nice. Let's get it plugged in and let's see how it actually looks. Okay, so now that we've unboxed the camera, I've plugged the camera in, and you are looking at the EMEET S800 right now. And the first thing I want you guys to notice, and I've shot a couple of test videos with this already, is I want you to notice the video quality of this camera. It is extremely, extremely good for a webcam. In fact, if you look up here at the edge of my hair, you can actually see the little hairs like each individual little hair kind of sticking out. It's very, very clear. This camera is actually phenomenal when it comes to image quality. Now, I am running the camera on 4K 30 frames a second, so this is the highest quality that you can get out of the camera. And probably in most cases, this is what you're going to want to run. It also has 1080p 60 if you want that smoother frame rate. But this looks incredible. I'm very impressed with the overall video quality. And here in a minute, we'll test out the audio quality of the cameras on board. And I'm also going to change the background color lights from blue to red, just so you can see how the camera handles, you know, different colored backgrounds and that sort of thing, and the color balance. But it looks really, really good. And this is a controlled lighting environment. I've got a couple of, studio lights with a softbox on one of them, and then I've got a rim light back here. So I definitely have a good light setup, and any webcam that you use is going to benefit from having good lighting. It doesn't matter what webcam you're using. But I want to show you guys the low light quality of this webcam. So I'm going to go ahead and turn out most of my lights here. Let's go ahead and start out with the rim light. We'll turn that off. Then we're going to turn off the background lights, the room lights. And notice the webcam. Like, the webcam is still maintaining a very, very good look, okay? The real test is going to be turning off my main lights. Now, when I turn these off, there's going to be hardly any light in this room. The only light in this room will be from I've got a monitor light on top of my monitors, and then I've got 4 monitors, which do emit a little bit of light, but the backgrounds are all blacked out. So let's go ahead and turn off the main lights. And notice how the camera brightens up. You see that? I'm looking over here to the side to see my monitor. See how it brightens up? Now, there's one last light that I have to turn off, and that's going to be the monitor lights, and then the monitors will be all that's left. Let's turn that off. Look at the webcam. Now, obviously, this is like an insane scenario. You're probably not going to be wanting to use this webcam in this scenario, but to give you a point of reference, let me turn back to my my main camera, and you can see how dark it is in here. This is more accurately how dark it is in this room. Okay, I've got a little display back here that's going, but this is how dark it is, and you can barely see it. Now, this is a DSLR, but if I turn the EMEET back on, look at the difference. Okay, this is with like no light whatsoever. There's only monitor lights in here. Everything else is off. This is incredible. It's brightening things up so much that the background, you can actually see the back wall and some of what's on the back wall. But if I go back to my main camera, you can't see that back wall at all. And so it does an incredible job at low light. And this is an extreme situation. If I was to turn on just one of my lights in here, which is at 5% brightness, look how bright it makes this camera look, okay? This light is facing the wall. It's bouncing off the wall at 5% brightness. It's an Elgato key light. This is really incredible for a webcam, okay? It's very, very incredible for a webcam. We'll turn on both lights, and of course, see how bright it is. It's going to readjust. But I would say that the auto adjustment of the exposure and the colors and things like that is also very, very good. I mean, it's very accurate, and it's pretty quick to jump into play. So if we go back and we turn on our rim light as well, now we look even better. And of course, we can bring on the room lights to make it look like it did before. But anyway, I just wanted to show you guys that because this camera has extremely good low light technology in it. To give you a picture even when you don't have a good lighting setup like I do, and it's very usable. Now, the other thing that I wanted to mention to you guys, we're gonna turn the monitor light back on. That's the other part we were missing. But the other thing that I want to mention to you guys is that this camera has an extremely fast autofocus system. It's got two things that make this autofocus system better than most other webcams that you're gonna find. One, it has phase detect autofocus, which is if you're looking for a webcam, you want to get something with phase detect autofocus. And most of the time, you're going to find phase detect autofocus in higher end webcams. And we'll talk about the price of this webcam at the end of this video, but it is extremely good for everything that you're getting. It's way better than I ever imagined it would be. But then also, it's got another thing that is a feature that they talk about, and I want to make sure I'm looking it up right now to make sure I get it right. It's called their time of flight dual autofocus, okay? And basically what that is 2 autofocus motors rather than one, which gives you a faster, quicker, and more accurate focusing. And the phase detect autofocus is what's going to make it tack sharp, and you're not going to have a lot of that focus breathing where it's like it looks like it's trying to grab the focus. It's going to just focus right in, and then if you change something in the camera, it'll focus right into that. So I'm going to go ahead and show you that by holding up the box for the EMEET S800. And I just want you guys to see how quickly this thing focuses on the box. Look how quickly it focused on the box and it adjusted for the lighting. Now watch when I pull it away. That's pretty quick. Now, one thing you will notice is as I'm doing this, when I pull it away, see how it brightens up my face a little bit? Watch again. Watch again. That's because it's basically comping for exposure. And so it's compensating for the exposure. When I hold this up closer, it has to compensate for exposure and adjust, and it's going to do that. Now we are getting a little bit of focus breathing here. And I'm not exactly sure why. It could be just because of the way the box is. Let me hold that closer. Okay. So I don't know why we got focus breathing. That's actually the first time I've ever seen that. Normally you don't get focus breathing. It could just be the lighting or the box. This box, I can actually get the box pretty close. It looks like it's about, yeah, it's getting out of focus there. But if I pull it back to right there, you can get this close with something and it's still in focus, which is pretty incredible. It's got a really, really close focusing, distance on it. But let's hold up another device, or another thing rather. And this is a little 3D printed Pokeball that holds my SD cards for all of my camera gear. I want to show you guys what it looks like to hold this up to the camera. All right. Okay, it's focusing. All right, we pull it away. Focus is back on my face. Let me close the Pokeball. Let's hold it up again. Focus is pretty quick. And pull it down. Focus is back on me. This is totally usable. And even though we saw a little bit of focus breathing, not much. And honestly, I did not get any of that earlier when I had the background lights a different color. So when I show you guys the built-in microphone, we'll change the background lights to red, and you can see how that looks. But ultimately, I mean, look at that autofocus. Very quick, very snappy, and goes right back to where it needs to be. I love this camera. I think it's fantastic. I think it really looks good. It's a very, very, very competitive offer. Now, I want to show you guys the built-in microphone, because if you're not, you don't need a big setup like what I'm using right now with a boom arm and a dedicated microphone. Let's say you're just getting into content creation, you don't have a budget for that, or you just need this camera for looking good in your, Zoom calls, Discord calls, things like that. Then I want to show you guys what the built-in mic is like, because it is pretty incredible. Okay, and here we are on the EMEET SmartCam S800 using the built-in microphones. Now, I've actually done some tests on this and gone back and listened to what my voice sounds like through this camera, and I've got to be honest, this is one of the better microphone systems that I've ever seen on a webcam. Now, a lot of times you're going to be using like what I use, which is a more dedicated microphone or something like that. But if you're just needing an all-in-one device, a camera and a mic that's going to sound good for video calls, meetings, that sort of thing, even content creation, the microphone in this camera system is actually really impressive. And I don't feel as much like when I'm listening back to the audio from this webcam, I don't feel like I'm listening to a webcam the way I do whenever you're talking into your laptop's, microphone and that webcam, or even other webcams that I've used. This is actually one of the better systems. The camera also looks really, really nice. As we do this whole video, just pay attention to the way that the picture looks. But this is a very impressive, sharp picture. And I will say, if I was going to be using this camera for content creation, this is what it would look like. And I think it's very viable. But the one thing I want to, in this section, really, really emphasize is the audio quality. Pay attention to the way my voice sounds and just the way that it's reproducing the audio. It doesn't sound bad at all. It's actually extremely good for webcam and totally usable as well. I would say that if you don't have a mic system, or maybe you only jump on video calls every once in a while and you don't need a big fancy, boom arm with a microphone on it and things like that, or you're just getting into content creation and you want something that's going to be good for all different types of content, this camera can provide that for you. So I really, really, really am impressed with it, and I hope that this has given you a very good test of the audio quality of the S800. All right, now that you've heard the built-in microphone and you've seen what this camera looks like with a completely red background, which usually is pretty harsh for cameras to handle, but it handled it like a champ. The last thing I want to show you guys is the privacy filter on this camera, and if I close it, it's a privacy screen rather. I close it, there's no light bleed whatsoever. It completely shuts out the picture. Nothing's getting through the camera. So it really is truly a privacy screen. Now, we're gonna open it back up. We're back in action. camera is fantastic, you guys. It does have some software that comes with it, so I'm going to jump in and show you the software, and then we'll talk about price and that sort of thing. And throughout this whole video, if you guys are interested in this camera and want to check it out, I will have a link down in the description to this camera. So if you want to pick one up, it is an affiliate link, so it helps support the channel at no additional cost to you. But let's go ahead and take a look at the software that can run this camera and allow you to adjust all the settings. Okay, so here we are. I'm still using the EMEET S800 to film this portion to show you the software. But let me go ahead and run you through some of the options that you have. Not everything's going to be available because I am using the camera to record this right now. So it's not going to show you the preview and that sort of thing. But you've got a couple of things. First of all, you can do your framing grid, which this allows you to do like rule of thirds, golden ratio, crosshairs. It'll put lines on the screen for you, which is kind of a cool feature. You can image flip here. You can set your metering mode on the software itself, so the camera can change its metering mode. Also, you can have it either face focus or center area focus. So for instance, if you want it to prioritize your face, it will always look for a face, and if it sees that, that's where the focus will go. If you change it to center area focus, this is going to be for like if you're going to be showing, like I was showing earlier, like, you know, the box or products or things like that, and you want it to primarily focus in the center, even if it's going to see your face a little bit, switch over to that, and then you won't have it trying to look for your face. And that's probably what happened when I was trying to show you some of this stuff earlier, is that it was trying to figure out what was going on because it was on face autofocus. But you can change that there. You can also manually adjust your autofocus, so you can manually adjust the focus and not have it be auto if you want. You can also adjust the zoom. So for instance, if I want to slide this up, it's going to digitally alter the zoom, and it goes from 40 to 73 degrees field of view. Now, what's cool about that is it is digital, but the fact that you can adjust it in the software means that if you're using something like Discord or Zoom or Google Meet or something like that, then you can actually change the look of your camera. If you're using OBS, you can just change it in OBS, but this will give you a little bit more flexibility depending on how you're going to use this camera. Now, you can also go to video settings here, and you can turn on HDR for the camera, as well as you can do standard, portrait, object, vivid, bright, and customize as far as the way you want the video to look. So if you wanted to prioritize a more portrait type of look, you're going to be sitting on camera mostly, then you would select that one. You can go in here though and customize everything from brightness, exposure value, contrast, and you can set these manually. Now, what I have found is that it actually works best if you, instead of trying to set it yourself, if you just let it run auto. And the reason why is because I think the camera does better as far as brightness and exposure when you let it go on auto. Whenever I tried to adjust this manually, it kind of messed with the color and the picture a little bit. I really like the look of auto better. Now, if I turn on HDR, HDR is going to basically try to blend all of the really bright areas and really dark areas of the scene. And if I turn that on, I don't even know. I can't turn it on right now. I guess because it says I need a USB 3.0 and either 24 or 30 frames a second. Well, I've got USB 3.0, but I don't know if the port I'm running into is 3.0, unfortunately. But it is available, and you could turn on HDR and you could use it that way. Honestly though, for my use case, I don't even know if I would worry about it because HDR takes a little bit more processing power, and this looks fantastic. So if you're going to set up some lights, or you have some lights in your office, you may be just fine. Like we looked at earlier, it doesn't take much light for this camera to make you look decent, right? So anyway, got all of those. You can also restore to defaults there. Good options. You've got flicker, anti-flicker at 60 hertz or 50 hertz. There's also microphone noise reduction if you want to put noise reduction on the built-in mic itself. Play around, play around with the settings themselves and see if you like the look better. This will potentially get rid of, if you set this manually, this will potentially get rid of the problem we're having with the focusing. And in fact, let's go ahead and do that. Let's go to customization here. Okay. And you can see that it changed the overall look of the camera. But let's go ahead and let's make the contrast a little more contrasty. Maybe not that much. Maybe like right in here. A little bit more saturation. Okay. And then tone. You got to be careful with the tone one because the tone one is finicky apparently. But see, this is where you really got to and then auto white balance. Let's turn that off. Okay, so let's try this. I'm gonna just hold this box up, focus, and then we take it away. And it looks like it's still doing some sort of autofocus. Let's try EV. Okay, here we go. Exposure value. So let's go ahead, and this is where it gets weird. When you change the exposure value manually, you've got to be real gentle with it. Okay, so let's get it right up into there. Mess with the contrast a little bit more. Okay, and then let's do brightness up just a tad. Okay, now that looks pretty good. That's all manual. That is all manual. Let's go ahead and hold this up. Okay, notice it's not. It fixed that exposure adjustment or exposure value. When it gets brighter on my face, it doesn't do that anymore. And this actually looks crazy good. We might actually shoot the rest of this video. The first time I messed with this, guys, I messed with these and I must have just thrown something off because it didn't look that great and I wanted to go back to the original. But now that we've dialed it in, this actually looks really, really good. I might use it in manual mode so that we can avoid that exposure adjustment happening whenever you're doing focusing, and now it just looks that much better. All right, so after playing around with the settings a little bit more in the software, I came to this look right here, and I gotta be honest, guys, this is how I would run this camera. I would set it up for your environment, set all of your brightness and exposure and all that sort of thing, do it manually, and now, like we were talking about a minute ago, you hold something up, it focuses, you pull it away. There's no exposing going on whenever it's trying to adjust or anything like that. And this looks great. And because you've got a controlled environment of lighting, once you set it up, it's going to look that much better. People may not even know that this is a webcam. It is that good. I mean, you could probably tell a little bit just because of the, but even look at the background. Back over here, look how blurry it gets when you hold something up. You do get a nice depth of field there. Now, when it's just on me, the background's going to be pretty sharp, but whenever you get something close to the camera, you do get a nice depth of field. That's a very nice for up close product shots. So guys, overall opinion about this camera, it's a win. The last thing I want to show you is how much this camera goes for. And so we're going to jump over to Amazon. I'll just show you how much it is on Amazon. And then we'll just give our final thoughts. Okay, and here we are on the Amazon listing, and I'm gonna have this Amazon listing linked in the description, like I said. But this camera is going for $149. It retails for $149.99 on Amazon. And right now, and I don't know if it'll be this way in the future, but you can apply a $15 coupon, $15 off, and get this for even cheaper. Okay, so this is an incredible offer. This is an incredible offer. I'm extremely impressed with this webcam, and for 150 bucks or less, depending on whether you get a sale or not, I'm a fan, guys. I'm a fan. If you're looking for a good webcam, this definitely is one to be checking out. It's not one, if you're in the streaming space, there's a couple of heavy hitters that you've heard about. This is not one I hear talked about a lot, but I think EMEET is making some great strides in the webcam department and making some really appealing offerings for live streamers on Twitch. If you're a content creator on YouTube, anything like that, you should be looking into cameras like this S800 because it has some really, really, really good features about it. And it does a great job on quality as well. I've done this video. I could easily have made this whole video just using this camera. And if I was reviewing a different product, I don't even know if people would really pay attention and be able to tell I wasn't on my main camera or whatever. Obviously, if you know about cameras, you might be able to tell, but it is so good, you're not going to be noticing the camera quality unless you're just noticing that it's good camera quality. It doesn't necessarily feel like a webcam as much. You could still tell, but it's got a very good look to it comparatively. And so if you've been used to other things out there, webcams that are really popular, this is going to blow a lot of those out of the water. We're moving into a season now where webcams, they're just taking the technology further and further and further. Webcams are becoming very viable camera options for content creation, as well as just making you look better in your, video calls and meetings and stuff. So anyway, love it. I think it's a great price at $149 or cheaper. I definitely would recommend it. With that being said, you guys, let me know what you think about the EMEET S800, the SmartCam S800. I want to know your thoughts in the comments. Do you like this webcam? Are you going to be looking at it? What are your thoughts about how quickly it focuses? I think it does a phenomenal job. And when I mentioned in the beginning of this video that it does 3 things better than a lot of webcams, just to recap, it has one of the best autofocus systems that I've seen. It's up there with webcams that are twice as expensive. It also has really good audio. It's in fact some of the best webcam, audio that I've ever heard. And then the third thing is it's got that built-in privacy screen on it. And what I love about this one is that it's built in to the actual lens itself, and you just twist the ring and it closes. It's got 2 little doors that close. It looks really, really cool. So anyway, with all of those features, you put it all together, I think it makes a very, very good option if you're going to be into live streaming or need a webcam for any reason. I would definitely look at the EMEET S800. So with that being said, you guys, if you liked the video, make sure you hit the thumbs up button for me, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment below, let me know what you think about this webcam. Also, you'll find all of my links down in the description for my Twitch stream, social media, Discord, my website. Check out EagleGarrett.com. You can find everything about me over there. But with that being said, you guys, thank you so much for watching. Until the next video, as always, rock on, peace out, God bless, and last but not least, yo, we dribbled that ball all over the arena. He had no idea what was happening, bro. He had no idea what was happening, bro. Oh my gosh. It was ugly, but it worked.